ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about Wagerwire. Wagerwire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at Wagerwire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search Wagerwire and download the app.
Jared, hey, we're gonna need you to tone it down with the Summer Friday thing, okay?
What are you talking about?
Well, for one, it's not summer anymore.
Oh, really?
Coconut. Also, who is this?
I'm the caddy.
Oh, he's my intern.
Sorry, intern. I'm his intern.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
No golfing in the office, okay? Summer Fridays are over. You can keep the Hawaiian shirt, but the rest of this stuff, all right? Are you grilling?
Oh, yeah. Did you want a burger or a hot dog?
No, grilling in the office.
It's a good point. We should take this outside.
No, that don't. You put that right back down.
Yo, it's all in the hips.
Oh, dude, come on, we gotta go. Let's go.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it is that time of the week. It has finally come. Tea time wagers. It's the Masters week. Magnolia Lane. I'm smiling ear to ear. I had to pull myself out of the backstage because I'd be talking to Brady for an hour before we go live here. It is the Masters. The headline, Ken Scheffler successfully defend the green jacket at the 2025 Masters. Currently on DraftKings as we speak, plus 400 for Mr. Scotty Scheffler. Minus 115, top five, and a whopping minus 250 for the top 10. So we'll have plenty of conversations here with Brady on the tour around Augusta and, of course, his outright selections, his top 20s, and his head-to-heads. First and foremost, a shout-out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's Wagerwire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. Viva Tequila Seltzer, 6 flavors in all. The East Coast is cuckoo for coconut. AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Head on over to Facebook. Introduce yourself to Mr. Terry Smith. Head on back to AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Steaks, chops, seafood, appetizers, wine, you name it, he's got it. 4 subscription packs in all. A little set it and forget it. Check one box every 30 days. Mr. Terry Smith will be delivering your protein for the month. The only thing that you will need is an extra propane tank. So without further ado, Mr. Brady Kannon.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are enjoying Masters Week. Like you said, we have arrived. We are back for the 89th time here, rolling down Magnolia Lane. Boy, I don't know. Do we ever get more excited for a major golf championship? I don't think I do. And it's not to say that the Masters is necessarily my favorite, but it's the first one we get every year that we've been waiting for, since last July, since the Open Championship concluded. And you've probably heard me say this before, Jeff, now in our, third year of doing this or something like that? I'm losing count. But if you ask me in April what my favorite major is, it's the Masters. If you ask me in July what my favorite major is, it's the British Open. The PGA and the US Open, I've absolutely fallen in love with. I think I like the PGA better than the US Open these days. The PGA has really become a fantastic golf tournament. But the history, the tradition, the lore, boy, I absolutely love the Masters and the British Open. And like I say, this time of year, it's 100% Georgia.
I have, as my dad would say, the Jack Nicklaus green jacket. I grew up, I was introduced to golf with my dad, with Jack Nicklaus, and I was at a wedding when Jack had that charge on the final round, and I think it was 86 won the green jacket there. The Sevi Ballesteros, which his birthday is today, the Sir Nick Faldos, the Greg Normans of the world. In comes Tom Watson, of course. Then in comes Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Sergio, El Nino. The list is endless. Now today, I'm not saying we're lacking that lore of those names back there, because I think golf is in a spot second to none right now. And this is a Masters without Tiger, but I don't think it's lost any buzz, Brady.
No, I totally agree with you. And it's the first time that, again, in a year, we've seen, the coexistence of LIV players and PGA Tour players here at a major championship. Hopefully we get it more than 4 times a year in the near future. But again, this is the first time we've truly seen all the best players in the world at one golf tournament in one field. And I don't really think there's anybody missing. I can't think of a single name that is not here this week. You've got Koepka, you've got Rahm, you've got Tyrrell Hatton, you've got Cameron Smith, all these guys from the LIV circuit. Patrick Reed, Sergio Garcia, Mickelson you talked about, former Masters winners, of course. And then, you've got everybody here from the traditional PGA Tour as well. McIlroy, Scheffler, Morikawa, Victor Hovland, Spieth. So this is what we've always wanted, year in and year out. And I mean, I don't know if there's a better stage for all these guys to be at the same golf tournament, because, and what I mean by that is, even though we have the British Open, the PGA, the US Open, and basically all these guys are at all of those as well, the Masters tends to be a chalky tournament. The favorites tend to win this golf tournament. You've got past champions, many of them who are in their 60s, maybe even hitting 70 at this point. Those guys aren't going to win. You've got the debutantes. We haven't had a first-timer win since 1979. There's a lot of guys in this field. There's 95 guys in the field in total. There's a lot of guys I think you can throw out right here and now on Wednesday that are not going to win this. And I think many people would argue there's only about 20 guys in this field that can win it. Some people might extend that to 30 or even 40. The point is, this is a 30 or 40 player tournament, and we've got basically all those top 30 or 40 players here in one playing field. It ought to be electric, because it figures to be one of those guys, one of the big stars, one of the names in the game that is going to slip on the green jacket on Sunday. And that makes for tremendous drama, tremendous theater, tremendous entertainment.
And if you ask probably 99.9% of the golfers, and they were asked the question, you can win one tournament and one tournament only, I would say 99 out of 100 would say the Masters.
I think you're probably right. I know it would be my choice. As much as I love the British Open, I mean, let's ask Greg Norman that question. He won the British Open twice. I have said before, Jeff, I don't think the LIV circuit would exist if Greg Norman had won the Masters. He'd be at that champions dinner. He'd be a part of that club. And I think it is a thorn in his side, and will be for the rest of his life, that he was never able to close the deal here. And I think that's part of the reasons he's done a lot of these different business ventures. We know the guy is a savvy businessman regardless, but I think a lot of it is motivated by the fact that this was the carrot he couldn't get his hands around. And look at Fred Couples, a Hall of Fame career, decorated, only won one major. It happened to be the Masters. I mean, and that's perfect Freddie Couples, right? Of course he has a Masters. He's Fred Couples. No, he doesn't have a PGA. No, he doesn't have, what does he have? Yeah, he has the Masters, because he's that cool. So no, I agree with you. It's the one to have. If you only get one, it's probably the one you want to take.
And you talked about the chalk, the field itself. We talk about this at length here. There are only about 30 golfers that can actually win this. I think 50 or 50. Is it 59 make the cut, Brady, or is it 50?
Well, it's top 50 in ties, so you could end up with 59 players, but it's the top 50 including ties.
So we get to moving day on Saturday, and of course Sunday, where they say the tournament doesn't begin till the back nine on Augusta here. We talk. I go back to last year, and the light bulb goes on when you get to Augusta for some of these golfers, and because it's unlike any other major, because par is good on the majority of this course. There's a handful of holes that you got to score on, and there's certain spots on this course where you must get your first shot or your second shot, or bogey is a minimum. And I go back to last year, back 9, 11th hole, Morikawa, who was not in form last year, at the top of the leaderboard with Oberg, who had already been on the scene, but he was really making his stance. They both go into the water. In comes Scotty, a perfect back 9, wins, I don't want to say going away, but wins comfortably. Do you feel, as we get to this year's Master, we have not seen that Scotty, even though top 10. Do you agree with the light bulb comes on for these golfers once they get to Augusta?
Well, that's interesting. I think it kind of does for a lot of guys. I think Jordan Spieth is a great example of, the being able to flip a switch when he gets here. But at the same time, in any major championship, you can't arrive, expecting to find your game on the practice tee. Now Augusta's different because it's the same course we play every year. The only major played at the same course year in and year out. And guys that know this course like the back of their hand tend to have success here. It is the most predictive, the stickiest golf tournament we have of the entire calendar year. Because we've done this for 88 years in a row, because the course has been relatively the same. It's the identity of the Masters has never changed. You have some difference of skill sets that are important here. When they tiger-proofed the golf course many years ago, it used to be really catered to bombers and putters, and now there's a lot of in between. There's a lot of ball striking and greens and regulation, as a part of this equation. Like any major championship, you have to do everything well here, but it's become more of a second shot golf course over the years, with the changes in the game and technology and that type of thing. But the point is, it hasn't really changed that much. And guys that play well here tend to do so year in and year out. I say it's the most predictive tournament, but still, whether it's a tournament of 30 or 40 guys, you still got to pick the right one. It's easier to find the winner because again, you're more likely to land on a guy that's going to have success here. We talked about long shots typically don't come in, but again, it's still a challenge to find the right one. Relatively speaking, it's typically easier than other golf tournaments that we're used to year in and year out. But, Scotty, he hasn't played here all that many times. I want to say this is maybe his 5th time or 6th time or so. It used to be that guys had to play here a minimum of 6 times on average before they got their first win. Now that has changed a little bit. It's more about 3 or 4 times now on average before they get their first win. But the point here is it takes experience. We don't see debutantes win. You have to learn all the little quirks, the nooks and crannies, the nuances of this property, the slopes, very uneven lies. It's so many things that you learn, that you make mental notes of about this golf course year in and year out, that it takes a while before you can crack the code. Now, again, Spieth, some of these guys that, may not be in the best of form and they get here and it's Fred Couples. He knows the course so well. He still competes every now and then at 60 some years old. So yeah, I think some guys can kind of flip a switch. The light bulb goes on, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, a couple of the most important factors in your handicap here are course form, course history, which ties into what you're saying, and current form. You can't necessarily be playing too lousy and expect to slip on a green jacket anytime soon. So current form and course form are huge, but that's not to say Phil Mickelson at 50 some years old isn't going to finish runner-up like he did a couple years ago, or Bubba Watson's all of a sudden going to find a slice of magic and finish top 20. It happens because the stickiness of the golf course and the familiarity, and the guys that have been around here a dozen times have such a knowledge of how to play this golf course.
Before we dig into the course itself, correlations, and of course your outrights, top 20s, and head-to-heads, I have to bring it up. We use the phrase horses for courses. And we were talking backstage, and as you know, Elijah knows as well, there's no one. I am the president of the Rory McIlroy fan club. I lead the charge when it comes to Rory. And unfortunately, this course, as we talked backstage, technically doesn't set up well for him. Rory has the world and all the pressure on him, hasn't won a major in a decade. We go back to last year in the US Open and that missed putt. In comes the Masters 2025. No one in the world's playing better than Rory McIlroy. I talk about he has that other gear in the bag that 99.9% of the PGA Tour does not have. Yet he's trying to complete the Grand Slam. Here he is. If he's never going to win it, if he's ever going to win it, it would be this year. But he always seems to have that one round that will take him out of that mix. And he's sitting here as the second favorite on DraftKings, plus 650. Initial thoughts on Rory? Again, maybe top 5, top 10. Is this the year, or he's better suited for the PGA, US Open, British Open?
Well, there's a lot of layers to this thing, and I'll start with the price. The price is pretty prohibitive. I mean, Rory typically is in the neighborhood of 10-1. I bet on him a few years ago when he was 12-1 to win here, which is not a disrespectful price. But to your point, he's been so good as of late with 2 wins. He's never won twice prior to Augusta in a PGA Tour season before this. Of course, he's won the Players Championship and at Pebble Beach, 2 signature events. So he comes with that extra baggage coming in. And of course, that drops his price. And now he's in Scotty territory, which I don't think is not deserved. I would absolutely put he and Scotty as equal right now. Maybe McIlroy's certainly probably playing better right now. Is he going to fare better than Scotty at this particular Masters? I've seen a head-to-head matchup where Rory's plus 140 as the underdog in that head-to-head matchup. And I think the value is clearly with McIlroy at that price. But, I agree with you that as much as I don't want to say it, because I'm a Rory fan too, I'd love to see him get a green jacket someday. I hope it's not this year because I'm not on him. But you're right. I don't know if this golf course, this test, all the 4 majors are pretty different in what is required. And that's why it's amazing to have won all 4 of them, because they kind of ask different, there are nuances, there are differences in what you need to do well at each of the 4 majors typically. And the Masters, I don't think necessarily is perfectly suited for Rory's game. He's got the ability off the tee. He's probably the best driver of the golf ball in the world, maybe in the history of the game. We know he can get hot with the irons. Sometimes he has struggled with the wedges. We've seen him get hot with the putter. He's typically not the greatest putter in the world, but he can get streaky with the putter. It seems to me that it is oftentimes the creativity and the chipping and, the way we see Patrick, look at some former Masters champions, the way we see Patrick Reed, Tiger Woods, Sergio Garcia, Jordan Spieth, John Rahm, the magic Seve Ballesteros, the magic hands around these greens, the chipping and the getting up and down and the creativity, the Phil Mickelson. I don't know if that is Rory's wheelhouse. And I think you can also probably to a much larger degree say the same thing about Bryson DeChambeau. He is that brute strength, power the ball down the golf course and try and, put it in for eagle and this, but there's such an artistry element to Augusta and winning the Masters that I don't think Bryson really has in his bag yet and may never get that. Rory has it, and it flashes here and there, but it is not necessarily the signature piece of his game or necessarily his strong suit, in my opinion. And that may hold him back forever. I hope it doesn't. I hope he gets one eventually. The other, part of this equation is, has he ever come in with more spotlight, with more pressure? I mean, every year he comes in with pressure because we're waiting for him to complete that final leg of the career Grand Slam. This will be his 17th attempt to win the Masters in his career. And so he always comes in with that spotlight because, he's obviously been a number one player in the game for many, many years. And we're waiting for him to complete that final leg of the Grand Slam. But now this year, like I say, he comes in incredible form, the best form he's ever come in. And his odds are right there with Scotty. There's so much piling on with Rory right now. That has me believing, no, it's not the right year. If he's going to do it, it's going to be a year when the spotlight is dimmed significantly off of his, not shining so brightly on Rory. If you look at BetMGM, okay, I get this report as a part of the media where the betting is going on at BetMGM. The highest ticket count percentage to win the Masters, Rory McIlroy. The highest handle percentage to win the Masters, Rory McIlroy. The second biggest liability to win the Masters at BetMGM is Rory McIlroy. Who's the biggest liability at BetMGM? Another name we just mentioned, Bryson DeChambeau. Those are red flags for me. Highest ticket count, Rory, Scotty, Bryson. Highest handle, Rory, Scotty, Bryson. Biggest liability, Bryson, Rory, and then Ludwig Åberg. Those are all red flags for me when there's such overwhelming popularity on just a couple of names in the field. And I understand it. Bryson made a splash last year when he broke out to the first round lead. Let's remember, 9 of his last 10 rounds at Augusta National have been over par. So he kind of had that flash in a pan for a minute, but really didn't. I mean, even though he finished 6th, was he really ever threatening Scotty? Colin Morikawa, Åberg, those were the guys that had a chance to win. I don't know if Bryson really was ever that guy that we felt was going to take this down. And Rory, of course, he's this popular because of what we've talked about. Guy's playing the best golf in the world right now. But again, as sports bettors, I think these are the situations we look to avoid. We don't necessarily want to join that party with the majority. We're trying to find the diamonds in the rough that are in the minority, but still make a lot of sense. And again, I go back to this tournament being ripe with chalk and typically won by favorites. So, when you have a 30 or 40 person field that legitimately has a chance to win this, we're all going to land on the same guys to some extent. But again, I don't want to necessarily be completely invested in these guys that are the very most popular.
The Masters, April 10th through the 13th, Augusta National, par 72 yardage, 7,555 yards. Your correlated courses?
Yeah, we talk about this being the most predictive course, the stickiest course history, meaning guys that have played well here do so year in and year out. There's more of that repeat business, if you will, than any other golf tournament there is. And it also carries over into the correlated courses. We see 3 golf courses that have an amazing crossover success with Augusta National. And there are similarities in the influence in the design and in the style of the course, what have you. Nothing compares to Augusta, but we do see the same names pop up and at an astonishing rate. And I'll start with Kapalua in Maui. Big, wide fairways, big, massive greens. Okay, those are a couple undulation like through the roof. Those are the similarities to Augusta. There's been 27 tournaments at Kapalua to kick off the year, the century that they start with in Maui. Of those 27 tournaments, 10 times has it been won by a Masters champion. Zach Johnson, Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, Jordan Spieth, Tiger Woods, Sergio Garcia, Hideki Matsuyama, John Rahm. Cameron Smith won in 2022 and finished in the final pairing with Scottie Scheffler at the Masters. So incredible crossover success there with Kapalua. The other one is Riviera. You go back 30 some years to 1992 when Fred Couples won the LA Open for the first time, now called the Genesis Invitational. 47%, the last 30 plus years, 47% of the winners at the Genesis Invitational also have a green jacket. Nick Faldo, Phil Mickelson, Adam Scott, Mike Weir, Bubba Watson, Dustin Johnson, Hideki Matsuyama. It's just incredible. I mentioned Fred Couples. And then the other one is the old course at St. Andrews. Since and this one makes maybe the most sense of all, because when Bobby Jones and Dr. Alistair McKenzie built Augusta National, they took a lot of study and influence from the old course at St. Andrews and modeled a lot of ideas after what that course offers. Since 1970, there have been 10 British Opens played at St. Andrews. 6 of those have been won by a Masters champion: Nicklaus, Woods, Ballesteros, Faldo. The other 2 guys that won at St. Andrews in 2022, Cam Smith, and in 2015, Louis Oosthuizen, who have both finished runner-up at the Masters. The success is incredibly crossed over between those 2 courses. If you look at the leaderboard from 2015, Zach Johnson won, Louis Oosthuizen runner-up, Jordan Spieth, Brooks Koepka, Justin Rose, Danny Willett, Sergio Garcia. Incredible top 10 on the leaderboard from 2015. It's like a carbon copy of the leaderboard at the Masters. So those 3 are incredibly sticky. And then you have some other ones that I think have some crossover and some similarity as well. And that's the Renaissance Club, where they play the Scottish Open, Pinehurst #2, where we saw last year's US Open, and then also Memorial Park, where they play the Houston Open, just played a couple weeks ago by Minwoo Lee. And that's very intentional, and they try to set that golf course up to resemble Augusta National. So it makes sense that that one has some crossover as well.
Well, it's about that time. We're going to send you off to the first tee box, and where you can. We're all anxiously awaiting your outrights with top 20s, Brady.
Well, I'll start with Colin Morikawa and Hideki Matsuyama. These were the first 2 bets that I made back in January when Matsuyama won at Kapalua. And knowing this connection between, I did this back in 2022 as well. When Cam Smith won at Kapalua, I immediately bet him to win the Masters. He ended up, like I said, in that final pairing with Scottie that April. So I came close. This year with Matsuyama winning at Kapalua and Morikawa finishing second for the second time in his career, he's also got a couple of top 5 finishes. Morikawa has been the most successful player at Kapalua, arguably ever, maybe other than Tiger. So I bet both of them. Morikawa finished runner-up, second to Hideki this year. I bet both of them. Morikawa at that time was 22-1. I'm still okay with 16s that are out there. I don't think that's a bad price on Colin Morikawa. Now, Matsuyama, I got at 25-1. He's drifted up closer to 30 or maybe even, low 30s, which I still think is fine. I think Matsuyama is absolutely live. Now, his form has dropped off a little bit since, those first couple of weeks when he won at Kapalua. But I think he's a guy, Jeff, you're kind of asking that question. Can the light bulb, can he flip a switch? I think Hideki's fine. His scrambling is world-class. And we've talked about that creativity and the chipping from the shaved runoff areas around the greens. Hideki's one of the very best in the world at that. Not the best putter in the world, but he tends to get streaky hot with the putter here on these greens. And he's a very good driver of the golf ball. If the irons flash for Hideki this week, he's going to be there as well. And then I added in February, Tommy Fleetwood, and I got 50-1. He's now closer to 35 or 40. 40-1, I'm perfectly fine with. We know Fleetwood has won multiple times all over the world. He's never won on the PGA Tour. I think at this point in his career, it's not about what tournament he's going to win. It might be a major. I don't think it matters. He's that good. He's a top 10 player in the world. He does everything well. He's very accurate off the tee. His irons are spot on. He can putt. He can chip. He's finished 4th at St. Andrews in 2022. He's been 20th and 10th at Riviera. He finished 3rd last year at Augusta. He's played the Masters 8 times. He's made the cut 7 straight years in a row. He's had multiple top 20 finishes. This guy is knocking on the door. It's when is he going to win? And which, it's going to be something one of these days, you have to believe. And he might be the most exciting guy to see win this. I mean, can you imagine if Tommy Fleetwood won the Masters? That would be just incredible. And then I went to the live circuit and took a piece of Brooks Koepka after he finished runner-up in Singapore a few weeks ago at 35 to 1, still in the neighborhood of the same price, 35 to 1, which I'm totally fine with. This guy almost won the thing a couple years ago when Rahm eventually overtook him in 2023. That's the second time Koepka has finished runner-up here, who, by the way, was 10th at St. Andrews, I mentioned, in 2015, and has finished as high as 3rd at Kapalua. But Koepka has come out and said that his preparation for Augusta began about 5 weeks ago. That translated into a second place finish in Singapore, another tremendous scrambler around the greens. We know how he can drive the golf ball. And if something isn't going sideways in his life, or he's not fighting injury or something like that, I don't care what major it is, Brooks is a factor. So I felt at 35 to 1, he was absolutely a worthy play. Everything seems to be fine with his game right now. I think he's ready to go. And then I landed on Russell Henley at 60 to 1. I've seen him closer to 40, 50, 55. I would say 45 or better is still fine with Russell Henley. Maybe the quietest, most under the radar, best player in the world right now. I mean, for the last few years, this guy has been phenomenal. Finished 3rd at the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines in 2021 when Rahm won. Finished 4th at the Masters. I think it was when Rahm won in 2023. Finished 5th at the Open Championship last year. 7th at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst last year. Just won at Bay Hill, a big, huge golf course that a short, accurate hitter isn't supposed to win at, holding off Colin Morikawa down the stretch. This guy's in great form. He's done well here before. He's done well at the correlated courses before. The only thing, it's like Morikawa, the only thing you would say that, and maybe Fleetwood as well, these guys aren't necessarily bombers. But if you give me Colin Morikawa, Russell Henley, and Tommy Fleetwood, I'll take it against just about anybody because they hit it long enough and they're deadly accurate. They know this course well enough. They know the right spots to hit in the fairway. So I'm not worried about the fact that they're 10 to 20 yards shorter than Brooks Koepka. So those were my main 5 bets. And I felt I wanted to add one more. And I did. And we know, again, this is a chalky tournament. I wasn't going to go with someone that was 80 to 1. I went with Jon Rahm at 16 to 1. And I've seen him as low as 13. I've seen him as high as 18. The consensus price now is probably about 14 or 15, which I'm still fine with that. Honestly, Jeff, I think he should be closer to 10 or 12 to 1. I think 15 or 16 is a deal. This guy has played 18 tournaments on the live circuit. He's finished top 10 every time, and he's won 2 of them. That's pretty good. He has a green jacket. He's won at Kapalua. He's won at Riviera. He's Jon Rahm after all. And I feel that, maybe we're getting a little bit of value on these live guys because they're more so out of sight, out of mind. This guy is still a top 5 player in the world. And I think, last year he was the defending champ. We know that comes with a lot of baggage. Defending champs typically don't do well here. It's very, very difficult to come back to the place where you just won the Masters and do it all over again. But now he's had a year removed from that, and I think he's ready to go again. He played very, very well last week at Doral. Basically had one blow-up hole, or he could have finished like top 3. He made a snowman, made an 8 coming down the stretch on Sunday. Other than that, he was top 3 in that field and yet still recorded another top 10 finish on the live circuit. So Rahm was my last of my main bets. Now, I also made 3 additional plays, and to end up going into a golf tournament with 9 outrights seems, like a fool's errand. But I preface that statement by saying these 3 other guys that I added, they're all triple digits. I played them for very small money, pizza money, hot dog money, very, very little money. They're just long shot flyers. I'm not completely invested in them because I think they have a shot. We've talked about the fact that triple digit guys don't typically win this. I don't know if any of these guys are going to win, but I felt they were very good values at their prices. And I do expect them to have good weeks. I played them all for top 20 finishes as well. And that's Justin Rose at 110 to 1. I've seen him higher. I played Sergio Garcia at 125. Garcia is arguably playing as well as Rory McIlroy right now. He is red hot. And his resume at Augusta, ever since he won in 2017, has been awful. He's been here 6 times since he won. He's missed the cut 5 out of 6 times. But I couldn't ignore his current form. His price is down to 65 or 80 or, but even like 90 to 1, I still think is okay. And then Patrick Reed, this guy, since he won in 2018, has continued to be money at Augusta. He has 3 additional top 10 finishes since winning and finished 12th last year. He finished runner-up just a few weeks ago as a part of the Asian Tour. He went over there to try and qualify for the British Open, which he did. He finished runner-up and finished top 5 last week at Doral. So the form looks good. We know the course history. The short game is magical. The very best scrambler in the field is Patrick Reed. So again, long bombs, don't know if they're going to win it. I think they're really good bets to finish top 20, Sergio, Reed, and Rose. By the way, I played all my guys for top 20 finish, except for Rahm and Morikawa. I went one better and played top 10.
A lot to take in. I love the beer and pizza money on those 3 as well. You either love or hate Patrick Reed, and he jumps over to live. And I think a lot of people that follow the PGA were very happy for that. Mr. Captain America himself.
Me included. I'm not a fan, but sometimes you have to put your heart aside and make a good bet. And I think Patrick Reed's a good bet this week, especially for a top 20. I think that's, I think he's going to have a good week.
And Rose and El Nino, Sergio, again, when they get to this course, it's just something about them. And so I love where your eyes are there on the pizza and beer money. And of course, the top 20. We have a couple head-to-heads this week, Brady.
Yeah. Denny McCarthy at -135 over Sam Burns. John Rahm at -125 over Bryson DeChambeau, and then Jordan Spieth at even money over Victor Hovland. So Spieth, I've seen him as a favorite. I've seen him like -120 over Hovland. I've seen him as a dog. I've seen him maybe -105. Jordan Spieth at any price as an underdog to Victor Hovland, I like. We know Hovland has been a major struggle for almost 2 years now. Now, he just won at the Valspar a couple weeks ago, but for me, I'm not sold. We talk about a guy flipping a switch here, Jordan Spieth. Hovland missed the cut here last year. Hovland may be another guy that just doesn't have that element of his game that fits at Augusta. So I'm not going to go all in on Victor Hovland. I think he will find a way to struggle here again. At the end of the day, I think Spieth is going to be better than him. I think Spieth will have a decent week. I don't really expect either of these guys to win, but I think Spieth will be better than Hovland, and I especially like him in the role of an underdog to Victor Hovland. Rahm over DeChambeau. Obviously, Rahm, I think, has a great chance to win. We've talked about DeChambeau. I think he's more of a fade for me this week. He could finish top 20, maybe top 30. I don't know. But, we've seen Bryson basically finish 30th, 40th, 50th here a number of times. Has the one banner year last year. I think he falls back this year more into a top 25-ish position for Bryson and Rahm. I think, I'm figuring Rahm is going to be in the mix with, top 5, top 10, possibly a victory. So I like Rahm there as a fairly short favorite over a guy, DeChambeau, who we illustrated is very, very popular this week. And then McCarthy, who's been playing pretty darn well, had another good week at the Valero Texas Open last week, where he's played well in the past. And for me, this is more of a bet, not only on that decent form out of McCarthy, but more of a bet on the very poor form of Sam Burns. So I wanted to find, like, you look at some of these guys that are really playing lousy right now. Matt Fitzpatrick, Max Homa. Matt Fitzpatrick, by the way, just separated with his caddy. Max Homa, also the same thing. Sam Burns and Nick Dunlap. Those were 4 guys I wanted to try and find ways to fade them. Didn't find all the right matchups, but I like McCarthy over Burns, so I went that direction. And by the way, this came out yesterday. Justin Thomas will not be with his caddy either. His regular caddy, I guess, was fighting a sore back and didn't want to risk, lugging a golf bag around these very hilly terrain of Augusta for 4 days. Can't blame him. Thomas agreed. And interesting, Max Homa's caddy chose to depart with Max, and now immediately rolls into JT's caddy. So, there's that's one of those handicaps where we're trying to play sideline psychologist. Is that gonna be, a kickstart for JT, or is it gonna be tough to deal with not having his regular guy? I don't know. Thomas is a guy that is in brilliant form right now. I've loved him for Augusta in the past. I think he'll probably have a good week, but I have a really hard time betting him because he just has never been able to figure out how to putt these greens.
Well, and we talked backstage. I sent you a text yesterday. You'll be glad to know. As you know, in our lanes, we do get those red flags when it comes to liabilities, when it comes to the social media darlings, the trendy dog, yada, yada, yada. You talked about Rory. You talked about Scheffler. You talked about DeChambeau, and had a little conversation with our good friend, Mr. Benson, at the Circa, at the Mecca, and my eyes, I thought, were deceiving me because their number went as low as 1350 on Morikawa, and per Mr. Benson, the shots have been hitting them pretty hard this week at the Mecca there. So at DraftKings, again, 16-1. Hats off to you, getting him early at 22-1. So I love your eyes there on Mr. Morikawa.
Yeah, I said this about Tommy Fleetwood as well in the article that I write for golf.com. I got 50-1 on Fleetwood, but you know what? No matter how good that number is, it doesn't matter unless he wins, So you can bet a guy at a bad number and get a good result, and you can bet a guy at a great number and get a bad result. So, we just cross our fingers and hope we get one of them home.
Well, here, when we're talking golf, our good buddy, Mr. Dave Sharapan, there'll be no CLV cans here and tests out. So always wrap up the show by handing you the mic again and telling everyone where they can find your written work. Of course, everyone knows to go to Twitter or X at Las Vegas Golfer, but as well, your schedule on the Sports Grid today and, of course, this weekend.
Right. Absolutely. I'll be on there early and often. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Keith Stewart as well, who is a colleague of mine at Sports Grid, another guy who does a great deal of golf coverage for Sports Grid. He's a PGA professional and a very good golf bettor. He is actually on the grounds at Augusta and doing reports on Sports Grid on a daily basis. In fact, I think with our friend Dave Sharapan, he'll be on there later this evening. So I want to be able to hear what Keith has to say, who he's seeing really strike the ball on the practice tee, what he's observing front and center there in Augusta, Georgia. So that's worth tuning in as well. My article is at golf.com. You can also find it on my Twitter handle at Las Vegas Golfer. That's got details into all those outrights, the long bombs and the contenders. I kind of separated it into that. My 6 guys that I feel are legitimate contenders, and then my 3 long bombs that we talked about. That's all up there at golf.com. I'll be on the grid later this evening at 6 p.m. I'll be on again at 11:15. I'm going on a little bit later this evening with Gabe and Cam. I'll be on again tomorrow morning after the first round is underway at 11:40 Eastern time, and then of course throughout the weekend as well. So Masters coverage through and through all weekend long, and I tell you what, I can't wait to get it underway. It's always one of the busiest weeks of the year for me, and also one of the most fun. But I'm about ready to kick this thing off, man.
Well, if anyone deserves a break after this weekend, it's you, Brady. I can't thank you enough. Year number 3 here. Hopefully we have another 3, 5, 6, 10 years together here. Go enjoy the Masters. We're less than 24 hours away. I'll be watching you throughout on the Sports Grid, and have an amazing week, sir.
Thank you, my friend.
Brady Kannon, go follow him at Las Vegas Golfer. Elijah, quick commercial break, and we'll wrap it up. Stay tuned. Shout out to Sean Alvarez, Mr. Smooth himself. He'll be here at 11:30 on Friday to talk some horses, some Kentucky Derby prep races here. Around 3:30, 4 o'clock, give or take, and myself and Riley Magnuson will be back for the closing bell. We'll talk some UFC 314. We'll talk some Masters, of course. We'll get you caught up in some day baseball and get you ready for the evening card. I got to thank Elijah Cox. Amazing, amazing work backstage here, getting us ready for the Masters. A tournament that is so near and dear to my heart. I grew up, it put me and my dad so close together, introducing me to golf with Jack Nicklaus, of course. And I remember 86 vividly at that wedding in Brockton Country Club, to be of all places there, when Jack made his charge on the back nine there. Living Sundays, whether it was the Greg Norman meltdown with my dad, where after the front nine, I had to leave. That's how distraught he was there, to income Tiger Woods. And I always say that was my dad's prodigal son there. Just, there's nothing better in the world than Masters Week. You know, on Monday, we cut the nets down for the national championship at NCAAs. We put that to rest till November 1st and right into Masters Week. It's going to be a great, great tournament. You can't win it on Thursday, guys. You can lose it on Thursday, but you can't win it. ECSI VIPs, we're on the heater of all heaters, 18-2 our last 20. I'm going to get out an afternoon MLB card after this. And then, of course, this evening, we will have our Masters releases as well. So everybody, have a blessed day. Enjoy yourselves. It's Masters Week. Thanks again to Mr. Elijah Cox. Thank you to Brady Kannon. Go follow him at Las Vegas Golfer. And, of course, make sure you follow him on the Sports Grid. See you around 3:30, 4 o'clock. Stay tuned.